So again, we have all the sprites set up and we have our test room set up. If you shut off the tiles, yeah, if you shut the tiles off, this is the actual underlying structure. See here? So we have platforms, we have walls. Walls you can climb on. Platforms. There's a slide. So that's really the level, but once you turn the tiles back on, it's got all this stuff on it. Okay? So where's the book that has all the instructions in it? That would be out here in Game Design 2. And here's the Game Maker's Companion. So now, evidently, this is a remake of an existing game. So this game appears on a different platform. The writers of this book were able to get all the artwork, and they tried to recreate the game here. Here's the backstory. Okay, so we're going to try to create a long-term challenge game. Yeah. Yeah, so Zool is really large, so we have to do it in chunks. And you see chapter 3 is just getting Zool to move around. 4, 5, 6. So there's 4 chapters just on this one game. So we have to take it in smaller chunks. If you try to do it all at once, it's too hard. Now I put the Zool sprites out there already for you, so you don't have to set this up.
Is it the Zool 0?
Yeah, Zool 0. A couple things they wanted to point out is the size and width of the Zool sprites. They're a little bit odd. They're 48 pixels, but notice that the origins for them are 24 by 24. Let's take a look at that. Here's standing right. If you look at the center, is right in the center of Zool, but Zool isn't on the ground. He's got a little bit of space underneath his legs and either side. So the way Zool's placed on the map is based on the center of the object. And if you look at the other Zools, like here's the running Zool. See that? He's walking. Here's a falling Zool. So it's really important to leave those origins where they're set. Okay, you'll note that also precise collision checking is turned off, and they have a very specific bounding box for the mask. So I wouldn't change those as well. That causes lots of problems if you change it. Ultimately, Zool is just a rectangle, and you're overlaying the video or the sprite over the top of that. But all of the Zools will have this box as the collision mask. And that's manually set. Now it's the platforms groups that defines the collisions for all the other ones. So different colored sprites are used to mask of platforms, walls, ledges. They all have a width and height of 16 pixels with precise collision checking turned off and automatic bounding boxes to adapt to the physical area of the sprite. So let's just take a look at those sprites and see what's different about them. Here's the actual platform sprite. If you look at the mask, it's rectangle, it's automatic. Here's the wall. This one's been modified. So the bounding box is 15, bottom is 15, even though it's 16. And then you say rectangle. That one's automatic. This one's full image. Slope is also full image. So the only one that was different was this, the wall sprite, I guess. Ramps as well. Looks like it's full image. So that's how we're going to position things in the game based on those sprites. Yeah, so it was on a Sega Mega Drive console a long time ago. Now, just like the koala game, we're going to be using tiles. when we're creating our levels. The tiles allow you to make the platforms a lot more interesting looking. So this is where your artwork comes into play. This looks like a fruit cake all over the place is your main area. And then you have candy, and you try to collect up different types of candy to get points. There's a tile set that has all the different versions of the sprites. If you look in backgrounds here, there's the actual tile set. So you can make the whole level just using these parts of these pictures. And so you would overlay these over the actual platforms and walls and stuff. This is how you do that. So eventually we're going to make our own level, and these are going to be the tiles we're going to use. Or maybe we come up with a new tile set, but I kind of get tired of Candyland. Maybe we can come up with something else. Now there's 2 tile layers in the room, and that's kind of new for us. We haven't done that often. I don't think it has the second tile sheet here, but when you play the game, there's these clouds in the background that adds a little bit of parallax so that when you're moving, it makes the screen look deeper. It looks more 3D that way, but they haven't implemented that yet. Now when you're in the actual room, if you want to see what it actually looks like without the tiles, you can shut that off. You can see the platforms like I showed earlier. We don't have a background really set other than just blue. I don't think it has anything else in there, yeah. It doesn't have the parallax stuff. And again, these are all the pieces for platforms and walls are put in here. They all derive from platform. So take a look, for example, a slope. Okay, so platform doesn't have a parent, or it does object solid is the parent. Wall is object solid. Ledge is object platform. Slope has object ramp as a parent. So looks like there's a complex relationship between the platforms and the ramps and the slopes. These are all slopes. But these are the main parts of the game. It seems like the parent of all of them is object solid, even though it's not labeled as solid. So that seems kind of odd. Again, notice all the object and ramps set their parent as object ramp. All the slopes are child of object slopes. And then it gets deeper, the inheritance hierarchy. If you need a picture of it, this is really a good picture of what's going on here. The main parent class is object solid. Both platform and walls are a type of solid things. Now platform has 2 flavors, ledges and ramps. Ramps have 2 flavors, object slopes and all the ramps, and slopes derive from object slope. Now these are 2 really important points when it comes to object-oriented programming. I'm just going to read these directly out of the book. If all this use of parodying seems confusing, then try to remember that you have 2 different types of effects giving an object a parent in GameMaker. The child object inherits all the events and actions of its parents, unless it has identical events, in which case the child's events override those of the parent. So that's important. All collision events with the parent object are now also triggered by collision with the child object. So if you collide with object solid, since object platform is the child of object solid, then the collision will be the same or behave the same way. So an object platform is a kind of object solid. The next thing we're going to have to manage is the alien state. And this is the state of Zool as he moves around. We're going to have, I think, 5 different states for Zool. So there's a base class where the behaviors that are common to all of these states are placed, and all of these other Zools are children of this first one. So it's the parent object for all Zool objects. This will handle any behaviors that are common to Zool in all states. But then here are the 4 unique states. There's object Zool land when he's standing on the ground or walking or skidding. All of that is in the object Zool land state. This object Zool air is when he's falling or jumping. Here's another state if he's climbing on the walls, clinging or climbing. And then there's the ice state, and this would be slipping. Now if you look at these these different states. There's 4 of them. This is called a finite state automata or a finite state machine. And basically it shows you how you would transition from one state to another. So you start off on land and say you hit a wall. So then you go in the wall state and you can go up and down the wall and stay in that wall state. So what we're going to do on our game is we're going to instrument the game so that we can see which state Zool is in apart from what he looks like when he's being drawn. So here's the finite state machine. This also really helps when you're coding to understand the transitions between all the states. Okay, make sure you're starting with Zool 0. I put that out in the shared folder. And we need to create these constants. These are all the state constants, or I guess this is a little confusing because they say there's 4 different states. I guess there's 4 different objects that can have up to 8 different states. And there's certain states that are only valid for certain objects. But let's create these variables. Now I would really recommend not to come up with your own names. Constants especially should be all capitalized and be separated with an underscore. So we have stand, we have walk, jump, fall, climb, cling, slip, and skid. All of those need to be created. All of them needs to have a unique value. So where do we find that in GameMaker? We say define constants. It's right here on the resources menu. So we're going to add new constants. So Z state. Our first Z state was I would go stand. Yeah, let me get this so I can actually see it. And you start counting at 0, so you set the value to 0. That's good. Okay, so we have those constants set up. We also need a couple other ones. Is face right and face left. Face right would be 1, and face left would be -1.
Isn't 1 already taken?
Yeah, you'd think, but this is used in a different context, so they don't really collide. They only have to be unique amongst themselves if they're all talking about Z state. But you can reuse the number if it's in a different context. So this is about the facing state. So right would be 1. And they use 1 to say, look 1 pixel to the right. And then left would be, yeah, left would be -1. Because that's the way they're going to look. So it's important that you use those 2 numbers.